Welcome to Tone Talks. Welcome to Tone Talks. Welcome to Tone Talks. What up, y'all? This Tone Talks in the building. Be going live on YouTube in a second, but we on Dash Radio, Dash Talk X, having a discussion today. We talking. You know we talking about this Jay-Z NFL partnership. I told y'all we be talking about it, and we here now having that discussion, talking about the realities of what this means. Y'all know that I did a short video. I done already explained some of my issues with this thing. I'm gonna give y'all a chance to call in somewhere in the beginning of the show. I ain't gonna talk that long because y'all know where I stand with this thing. But for me, I'm seeing this thing and I don't think black folks understand. I don't think black folks is getting it. That we owed wealth in this country and that ain't no partnership with the NFL gonna make up for that. Topic of the show is Jay-Z's NFL partnership and is Kaepernick the real issue? We talking about a lot of things. We talking about the reality behind a lot of things. And we talking on YouTube and Dash Radio. If you want to, please join this discussion on YouTube. We're going to have about 2,500 people on there. And then you can go on Dash Radio, Dash Talk X. But on YouTube, it's going to be people in the chat discussing this thing, discussing this show, talking about everything that they feel about this topic, because everybody's a little frustrated that Jay-Z went out here and did this little deal with the NFL. So y'all know I do this by questions. I'm gonna try to get some callers to call in, some special guests, but I want to give y'all just 4. I'm not gonna do 7 questions today. I'm gonna do 4. Number 1, what is the NFL Jay-Z scandal and why is it important? You know that Jay-Z done did this deal. Now they trying to clean it up. They talking about he gonna own a substantial share of an NFL team. What does the substantial share mean? Look, I know 2 words, majority and whole. Substantial share? That could be 3% or 7%. We're going to talk about how much an NFL team is worth, what the values are, and whether Jay-Z is involved, can really make this purchase. Y'all know I done talked to Byron this week, owns the Weather Channel. We've been talking about his lawsuit with Comcast over real ownership, 100% black ownership. Let's talk. Number 2, does Jay-Z becoming a part owner clean up this PR mess? Because ever since the scandal broke, everybody been talking. We gonna frame it out today because Tone done had enough of this. Charlemagne, look, bro. Asking these simple questions ain't how you get there. Now, I'm gonna show you how to do it today because we gonna have to talk about the realities that ain't no painting of Jay-Z as this businessman gonna make up for the fact that Jay-Z don't know nothing about business, man. Number 3, what is Jay-Z's resume? And how does it tie into exploitation? You know, we go in from the rapping about crack to the ace of spades, that's cheap grapes, to Tidal taking the picture with all the white folks but telling us it's about black ownership, to the probation anklets, to Uber, to Brooklyn Nets, to the NFL partnership. Ain't that about his whole resume? Where is this black productive politics that everybody been talking about? So look, for a lot of people, I think that what happens is we talk about race, we talk about everything, and people have problems. And they have problems because they look over at this thing and they see themselves and they see, why don't we own everything? Why don't we own anything? Well, I've talked about the decadent veil for some time. And when I speak about the decadent veil, I tell you guys all the time that when you look at this thing through the lens of blackness and wealth have not gone together in America. For far too long, what has happened is that we've been shut out, that we've been locked out, that we haven't gotten the opportunity. And so now what's happening is that everybody is trying to repaint this thing like we got a fighting chance if we just get one Jay-Z in there. But I don't agree. And so let's talk today. Let's talk about, Kaepernick. Let's bring him up. Look, I got respect for Cap. I know Cap grew up with the white family, had a good life with them. I got respect for Cap. I know Cap took a knee. I got respect for Cap. But when Cap settled with the NFL, we didn't get no documents. See, Cap needed to make that lawsuit go, just like Byron's is, so we can get some documents. I mean, they needed to file briefs so that we saw the discovery phase. See, they didn't want to get the discovery phase going of how the emails between the owners go about. But we talking today about who donate to Trump. Let's go right into that first question. What is the NFL Jay-Z scandal and why is it important? Oh, man, this gonna hurt a lot of feelings today. I told y'all that's what I'm doing today. So for a lot of people, I think that this is hard to digest because they grew up on Jay-Z and he made them feel real special while they drove to college. Now they finding out that Jay-Z ain't who they thought he was. The man is a vulture on black poverty. And that's hard to digest because you want him to be this superstar mogul. But we look at the wealth and we know the wealth splits up. Most of it is this ace of spades that ain't built on nothing but cheap Treviano grapes. I'm pulling up the article in the final version. You can read it yourself. Another section of it is the Uber. But what we see is that corporate ownership, black wealth, has always been diminished at the hands of white wealth. For a lot of us, that's too much. That's a bridge too far. And so I want everybody to start seeing this thing, because if you don't see this, you get caught up in the misleadership of everything. You'll get caught up in the potential that you believe black folks have instead of the reality of where black wealth has been. Y'all know I pulled up this chart before. We own 2.6% of the wealth. There's $107 trillion in household wealth. We got about $3 trillion. That's it. But the real tale is that the bottom half of the race is worth negative wealth. Over $100 billion in negative wealth. 2.25 of the wealth is in the top 10% of our families. Jay-Z, black boomers. So if you ain't tied to one of them, you out. But they speaking for us. And they doing deals that don't resolve the oppression that led to Eric Garner, that led to Alton Sterling, that led to black folks not having enough to be black in America. We talking today, Dash Radio, Dash Talk X, Tone Talks in the building. Oh man, look, I'm giving it to you like nobody else has, because everybody else, they still want to interview Jay-Z. Hov can call in. Tell him he can call. I'll take the call. Look here, we got a special guest. Shout out. What's up, Vet? You on the line?
What's going on?
This is Yvette Carnell from Breaking Brown. Vet, I'm up here on this first question. You know, when we look at this Jay-Z scandal and we look at this question of why it's important, what's your take on everything?
Well, it's all very confusing to me, because I thought we were kind of beyond this as a group, in the sense of systemic injustice, multi-generational oppression is sort of fixed with a partnership between between a rapper and the NFL. And even what Jay-Z said is like, well, we're kind of beyond Cap. And I believe it's beyond Cap as an individual. It's about systemic oppression. It's not about whether or not Jay-Z partners or whether or not he gets to be a part of a team. Like, I don't live through you. And I don't live through what you do, even if what you do is through the NFL. And the NFL is not going to fix this. Like, this is a sport. What you do is promote aspirationalism. What you do, you don't promote the football player. You promote the shoes and the gear and all that stuff. Like, all that stuff is not going to fix anything that is wrong with that causes a black person to get shot down in the street or evicted. All the things that come with bottom caste life are not going to be fixed through your partnership. And I don't know if you know enough to know that, Jay-Z.
Come on, man, Vet. You coming in here on fire like that? Vet is, look, don't come in here with that Breaking Brown, getting me in trouble with the audience. Look, I did an article. I got to be fair. I did an article on Vice Sports. Did an article on this. Football's war on the minds of black men. You can go read that on Vice Sports. Did it about 3 years ago. I was just telling y'all that this sport is dying because the CTE is real. They got our young boys running around here with concussions and schizophrenia, but they still trying to sell it to us. I'm going to read a little section to you. African-American males are only 6% of the United States population, but comprise nearly 70% of the players in the NFL. When we focus on the sport's high collision positions, the number of African Americans playing by percentage rises substantially. Nearly 30% of white players are kickers, punters, or quarterbacks. All positions that have a much lower chance of being involved in concussion-causing collisions. With nearly 1,200 of the NFL's 1,700 players being black, football's concussion problem is also a race problem. We talking today because what you selling? Bones breaking? Heads going back? But let's get right back into it. Jay-Z done did a deal with the NFL. We all done arrived, vet. We done made it good because Jay-Z done did a deal with the NFL so that he can choose who goes to the Super Bowl and plays the music and all that. Come on, get up out of here with that. We trying to, look, ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery, was founded by me and Yvette Carnell. We're bringing a claim for reparations, multi-trillion-dollar debt. At the same time, you have people like Byron Allen bringing a Supreme Court case against Comcast for 100% ownership. We got this new thing. Jay-Z done came out talking about he owned a team. Look, news story broke today. They done had so much bad press that they broke a news story about how Jay-Z is going to own an NFL team and it's going to be a substantial share. Let me say this. I ain't never seen a story on the potential of ownership. It ain't real until you actually own it. So y'all got so shook by the fact that we ain't hearing this nonsense no more. Because if you was really about telling us Jay-Z was going to own the team, you would have said it right with the partnership with the thing. But what happened was you didn't understand that Tone Talks, that Jamil Hill, that Eric Reed, that all these people was going to come out and the energy was going to hit. So now you think you're going to clean it up by telling us that he may own a team in the future and it's going to be a substantial ownership because you don't want to run into the Brooklyn Nets where they had to come up with a Jay-Z rule that you can't own 0.8% of a team and run around like you the owner. So I'm bringing this up because how do you tell us that a man who clearly don't have the wealth is going to buy the team? So people say he's a billionaire. Look, let's talk. All I do is numbers, right, Vet? The most expensive team is the Cowboys. It's $5 billion. That's how much the Cowboys are worth without the stadium. Understand that the lowest team is the Bills. They're almost $2 billion without the stadium. But the reality is, for Jay-Z to buy a substantial share, by my math, which means I would look at a majority share, 51%, he's going to have to come with $1 billion. Liquid. We don't have a black family in America that can do that. See, they talking about that nonsense. Let me explain further. We live in America where Trump just gave tax cuts and people have money like they have money in a way that they've never had it before. That means that anybody selling can create a bidding war. Why would the NFL all of a sudden just give Jay-Z a flat rate? Oh, because they're not paying him to own the team. They're paying him to quiet us down. Yvette, what you think?
It's so interesting to me because I feel like we've been here before. The Brooklyn Nets is going to bring bring jobs, and Jay-Z's the owner. There's this idea that he's apart from them because he comes from Marshall Project and all that stuff. He's going to be your voice in that room, and he's going to do social justice. He's going to be the voice of everybody who kneeled and supported kneeling in that room. And I think he's shown us. I don't know whether I can't speak to the man whether he refuses to do it or whether he doesn't have the capability to do it. But he's shown us that that's not why he's in the room. He's not in the room. He's in the room for a specific reason. These movers, these shakers, whatever the deal is, whatever, every piece of money to pick up. But he's not in that room for the reasons that you think he's in that room. And he's not going to do in that room what you think he's going to do in that room. He's not your rep in that room.
See, everybody else is focused on Kaepernick. Again, shout out for him kneeling. But at the end of the day, Cap settled. And Cap just trying to get back on the field or something. We not talking about getting back on the field. We talking about the realities of black folks being oppressed in this country. We talking about the fact that Jay-Z, see what all happened. Let's back this up. Jamil Hill did get something really right. What really happened is that Equinox actually came out, the guy that owns that, and said that, and it came out that he supports Trump, donates to Trump. But at the same time, let me whisper, because everybody can't find out. At the same time, a lot of NFL owners had donated to Trump as well. So they didn't want that scandal to break. And for everybody right before the season to find this out and start protesting the NFL like we did with the kneeling. So they jumped out ahead of it and got Jay-Z and painted him up as an owner. Splash, splash. How much money NFL owners have donated to Trump? USA Today. Cleveland Browns, Jimmy Haslam, $100,000, of which Haslam is CEO. Jerry Jones, $1 million. Contribution made by Glenn Stone Limited Partnership, of which Jones is president. Houston, Texas, Robert McNair, $1 million. We remember McNair. I believe this is the man who was about the slave plantation, and he not gonna take it from these players. I believe he's passed on since then. Jacksonville Jaguars, Shaheed Khan. So this obviously ain't even possibly a white person. $1 million to Trump. Los Angeles Rams, Stan Kroenke. This is the dude who got the stadium out here in Inglewood. $1 million to Trump. New England Patriots, hold on. Oh, Robert Kraft, $1 million to Trump. This is the man who introduced Jay-Z to the Goodell. They are playing a game. What just happened was a fear that we would react and shut this thing down. Jay-Z don't clean this up. I don't care what he owns. What 3% y'all give him? New York Jets, Woody Johnson he gave $1 million to Trump. Let's go through it. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Edward Glazer gave $250,000 to Trump. Washington Redskins, Daniel Snyder gave $1 million to Trump. Let's talk about it. Yvette. We talking today because this is all contribution to Trump's inaugural committee. What you think, Vet? What you think about what I just put out there?
Well, one thing I want to say too. Let's understand that inaugural committee money became like a slush fund. Like, we still don't know what happened with Trump's inaugural committee money. That money's still floating around. They haven't been accountable in terms of what happened. That was just a give. So it's funny when you talk about it's funny when you have Jay-Z in a room full of white multimillionaires, billionaires who are donating to Trump, and somehow in our mind we think, okay, forget all that. Jay-Z's in the room, and he's going to affect change. In that room, he's an ornament. He's in that room too without any backing from people. Back his music. Nobody backs him really on social justice. It'll get attention, and people think it's cool and whatever. And that's what happens. That's what they're banking on. They're banking on we're just gonna be like, Jay-Z's in there. He's trying to make change, and we just kind of walk away. But he's not an activist in that room. Everybody knows that, like, that's not his space in terms of anybody's block, in terms of anybody's city. But he's a celebrity, and we don't usually need activists, right? We usually just celebrity in there. He's gonna try to do it. You know, they're working with Jay-Z now, and so all that kneeling was for what? For the billionaires to get in the room with Jay-Z and to think that Jay-Z is gonna change the minds that he has, because this is a wealth game, people. Like, he has that to be in the room with them men and switch some stuff up. No, he's there because y'all like him. And, like, since y'all like him, that means that you're just going to go along and get along because you don't want to say anything bad about anybody. And I'm not even here trying to say anything bad about Jay-Z per se. I'm not trying to just down him per se. I can just look at something and tell when it's not going to work and what he's being used for. And he's an ornament. He might be special to you, but he's special to nobody in terms of wealth level in that room.
Let me say this, Vet, because I'm sorry. I got to say I am down in Jay-Z. Specifically. Not even as a rapper, just him. Let's go through it, Yvette. Let's talk about it as black folk. What is Jay-Z's resume and how does it tie into exploitation? He went from rapping about crack. Okay, everybody was okay with that. Then you got the Ace of Spades. He's selling us cheap grapes at expensive prices and gouging us because of our aspiration, and we want to hold that bottle just like him and Puff Daddy. He moved over from that to telling us that Tidal was about black folks. Then you look at the picture of Tidal and the employees, and it's a bunch of white folks. Everybody said, well, that's just the staff that was already there. Fire them all and go get Nipsey people, the ones that been training and everything. Fire them all and go get all the Howard grads that can't find no job. If you about black folks. Then we look over at the anklets for the probationers. He done got invested in that and is trying to sell it to us as some empowerment. Ain't no empowerment in selling anklets. You look over at Uber. Look, I know some of y'all got to do that tonight, but I got to tell you the truth. Uber is a payday loan against the value of your car. You are liquidating your car as you drive it, and the processing fee is the drive. They're not paying you for the drive. They're paying you to liquidate your car. It's a payday loan. When Jay-Z was given that investment, it was closed out. You had to know somebody to invest in Uber at that level. They gave it to him to validate it to us. When Beyonce was paid for a concert with what came out to be $300 million in Uber stock, they gave it to her to quiet you down and make you liquidate your car. Understand that Jay-Z, 10% of his wealth comes from this exploitation. The Brooklyn Nets and the gentrification, they came up with the Jay-Z rule that you can't own no small, less than 1% running around here like you an owner. Let's talk about it. Then you have the whole thing was supposed to bring jobs, and now, look, Yvette, they done told us that we know Russians. Jay-Z done did business with Russians. Why he ain't got to hear about bots and where this come from? I mean, you done did a whole business deal with a Russian. Ain't nobody asked, well, what's your influence? How are you influenced? Where's this whole push coming from to undermine black folks and reparations? Oh, no, Tone didn't say that. Then we got this NFL partnership. So I'm looking at the whole thing, and I see a man that adds up 2 + 2 + 2 + 2 to exploitation. And I think it's time to talk about it because everybody else dancing around talking about Cap. What you think, Vet?
Well, yeah, because we talk about the black celebrity phenomenon. Like, this is a black celebrity phenomenon that we see all the time. We see it on different levels where we're supposed to, we put all black celebrities, especially the ones that we kind of grew up with who have been around a while, right? I don't care if it's Diddy. I don't care if it's Jay-Z. All of these celebrities, I don't care if it's Beyonce, we put all of them in this position where what happens is our aspiration is through them. So somebody said something who cleared it up on Twitter, something that I had said previously is that it's kind of like a drug for us. So we don't really deal with our own situation because they're doing well, and they're doing well means we're doing well as a group. Not understanding that they don't see this as a group of black people or whatever. They don't see that. They're doing this for Jay-Z's in that room for himself.
Oh,
and to the extent that he's in that room for me, he doesn't understand me enough to know for me, what I need is for you not to be in that room.
They said
he's doing this for me, you would know I don't want you in there.
They said that he's gonna have a substantial ownership in the NFL team. You know why they had to say that, Vet? Because he owned, I think it was like 0.001%, something crazy small. He owned a very small percent of that Brooklyn team, but he was in the video game. They had the video game where he was sitting on the sideline as an owner. So let me read the Jay-Z rule that is in the NBA documents now. Call it the Jay-Z rule. At its last major meeting, the NBA's Board of Governors quietly passed a rule mandating that teams have 25 or fewer individual owners and that each owner must own at least 1%. So he owned less than 1%. Let's just talk. So everybody talked about how much money he made from the sale. Yeah, I'll give you $45 for your part. I'll give you $50 for your part. And so we on Dash Radio. We fired up today. Charlamagne told us some other stuff. He said that Jay-Z know what he doing. He know how to move in a room of vultures. Some kind of rap line. I don't want to hear that stuff. Look, I don't want to hear nothing else about how Jay-Z knows how to move. I gave you his resume, and it don't sound like he's moving for us. He hasn't said nothing about reparations for Americans. See, the problem with ADOS and what happens is we got to gate up now. And when ADOS is saying we demand reparations, you got to really look like you really doing things for black folk. Let me explain. If Jay-Z were to own a part of an NFL team, that NFL team is beholden to who? Advertisers. Right now, even in this partnership, he's beholden to advertisers. Is you going to be an activist or are you going to be an owner beholden to advertisers? You can't be both. But see, the reason why you step into that role of activist is to keep real activists from doing activism for black folk. And I think for a lot of us, we come back to the question, does Jay-Z becoming a part owner or doing this whole scandal, whole thing of a partnership, does it clean anything up? This is a PR mess, a nightmare. NFL don't even know what to do. They struggling. We got them, y'all. Vet, ain't this something that they thought they was going to bring this 50-year-old man out here and paint him young and then sell him to us, and it's not working? What it's saying about ADOS and about black folks and black politics and what the power of YouTube and Twitter and how we not going for it no more. Jamil Hill she did a good article. I had my problems with it. Jay-Z helped the NFL banish Colin Kaepernick. My problem is that she's far too focused on Colin Kaepernick. And not enough focus is going on the NFL and Jay-Z and the realities behind that. We on Dash Radio, 1500 in the chat, 323-230-4610. If you want to call in, let's take the first caller of the night. All right, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Tony, it's Mike from Georgia.
What up, Mike? Long time caller. What's your take on this whole thing? Jay-Z out here selling us short for peanuts and crackers.
Yes, sir. Hey, man, you and Yvette and all of the ADOS have pulled a scab off of this festing wound. From Obama to Kamala Harris and now Jay-Z, we are seeing the power of ADOS. And as you said, a fence has been being put around what ADOS means. And if you're not repping for ADOS, we don't want to hear it.
I agree. They doing partnerships. One thing y'all can know is that we not doing no partnership with the ADOS and NFL, and they gonna have a little flag. Understand this: Jay-Z ain't gonna own part of that NFL logo. Don't believe it. I've never seen a news story. Look, y'all can go look this up. I ain't never seen a news story where they talk about potential ownership this way. 3 days after, Jay-Z may own a substantial share of a team, possibly. Come on, man, get up out of here with that. Get up out of here. Caller, thank you so much for calling. I'm gonna keep it pushing. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Chicago. My name Carl.
What up, man? Give me your take on it.
My take on this whole thing is, I want to speak on what I heard something else from somewhere else, and I want to just reiterate, who is the next Al Sharpton? And what you and Yvette said back when you guys was talking about Oprah, where billionaires don't move like this. And Jay-Z, where if you're a real billionaire, you don't move like that. And when he was in that interview, all the white guys was asking the more serious questions than Charlemagne. And if you're a real billionaire, the white dude called him up when he was like, so would you kneel? And he said, what? He said, would you kneel? The time for kneeling is over.
He was
First of all, if I'm a billionaire,
bro.
Calm down, dude.
He was kneeling when he took the meeting. All the giggles.
Yeah, exactly. But he called him though. The white dude called him, and the white dude wasn't scared because he knew it was fake. Jay-Z froze up. If you a billionaire, he was stuttering. He didn't. If you a billionaire, you fluent. You're not nervous in the meeting.
You know what's so funny about that whole thing? I ain't one for. Look, my relationship with Byron is I talk to him once in a while. But I'll tell you this, that interview was powerful, the way he talked about Comcast and AT&T. But that's what happens when you own the whole channel. When you own the whole,
billionaire.
You a real billionaire.
You talking.
You talking.
You the big dog.
Vet, what's your
take?
take?
You ain't stuttering.
Let's let Vet get in here. What's your take on this? On what happened in that room? What you heard?
Well, let me tell you this. I think because we have so few millionaires, forget even going into the billionaire realm. Let's stay off of that. Because we even have so few millionaires, Jay-Z's not a man who is accustomed to being asked questions. So what you saw was a poor performance. Because he's normally the shot caller in every room. He's a black man who's a millionaire and who's been around, who has a longevity in music. You don't see that. So everybody in the room is just telling him what he wants to hear. You get in this room, and I saw the part the brother's talking about. The supporter asked him, so would you kneel? And he was caught flat-footed. He was caught flat-footed because he's not accustomed to this. So now the NFL is coming back and trying to clean this thing up. Well, this didn't go off like we thought it was going to go off. It didn't hit like we thought it was going to hit.
Nothing moves no more. I'm telling you right now, if somebody from the NFL I know y'all scour the internet, gets to listen to this. Nothing moves no more like that. So stop. Just don't even give him no money. I'm telling you like this because the reality is, look, I've said it to y'all before, and I don't say this out of disrespect for the brothers out there that couldn't get a diploma. We at a point where we tell our children to go to college to get a high school diploma. But then because this dude makes some money from music, we don't want to listen to the fact that this dude didn't graduate from high school, Jay-Z. Charlamagne got a night school degree from some school in South Carolina. Look, I'm going to tell y'all again. I went to UCLA. Yvette went to Howard. I'm a attorney. Understand that I work with economists like Sandy Darity. I'm saying this because if you put me in a room, nothing is gonna look. We got a gate up now. ADOS is not playing, and so at the reality of it is, Jay-Z, Charlamagne, all of them shouldn't have been in that room speaking for black folk because it's okay to turn it all down. This reminds me of the memorandum of understanding, if y'all remember, that Al Sharpton and Mark Morial signed with Comcast. A memorandum that basically exposed the fact that Comcast doesn't do really any business with black-owned companies. Small amount, like $20 million a year. They do multi-billion dollars in advertising, and they gave us $20 million, like not ADOS, all African-American businesses, a year. They promised to add $7 million for all minorities. This sound like that. See, Charlamagne came back on his, I believe his Instagram, talking about how they edited out his real questions and this and that. They would have had to edit me out. They would have had to erase me from being in the room somehow with editing.
Exactly.
Because tone would have been a problem. So look, you know, I appreciate you for calling, caller. I'm going to take another caller.
Can I say one more thing, please?
It's got to be good. If it ain't good,
no, it is.
Go ahead.
I just saw on the news, this is how billionaires move. I just saw on the news that the guy, a Canadian, I think he's Chinese-Canadian, is buying the Brooklyn Nets. He had 49%.
Alibaba.
He's going to get the other 51%. That's how billionaires
And the
move.
stadium. And
they
the stadium.
Don't have interviews. They just do it.
And the stadium.
And then he's finna buy the stadium for $1 billion.
But let's connect that. When Jay-Z sold it to black people, it wasn't that this dude would end up with it. Jay-Z sold it to us like he would end up in some kind of say. But then he dipped out.
Pocket change.
He dipped out, though. You don't get to dip out if you sold it like we all involved. This is what we got going on. Everybody playing. Thank you so much for calling. Woo, Vet, I've got to keep you on. I'm sorry. I've not done amicus briefs in support of Byron Allen and his lawsuit against Comcast. I'm not saying this for Byron. I'm saying this for black folks. He's suing using the law, Civil Rights Act of 1866, that was put on the books for the descendants of slaves so that we can challenge if we're not being done business with. They're trying to limit it. Byron's trying to expand it. If anything, if they don't do briefs, the NAACP, the Urban League, people who have taken money from Comcast, you know these are not your organizations. In addition, the presidential candidates got to support this. Let's take another caller. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Wes calling from North Carolina, man.
Wes, wait up. I'm gonna read something to you, bro. Everybody, just follow me for a second. Follow me down memory lane. That fourth question is, why should we trust the NFL if the owners donate to Trump? I went through the owners donating to Trump, and the business is built on devastating black bodies. I talked about NFL, the football's war on the minds of black men, but there's another article I want everybody to go read. It's called Hook for Life. Inside the NFL's relentless, existential, big tobacco-style pursuit of your children. From the outside, the NFL looks like one of the jewels of American capitalism. It remains the most profitable sports enterprise in the world.
It's more dangerous than other positions. But I'm just saying, they said the hit is like being hit by a car when you get hit out there.
Yeah.
So the fact that that is an aspiration, and you're not going to be on that field for long. So whatever little money you make, you might not even make a lot of money for 6-7 years. You might by some stretch, you might make it 10. Whatever, you're not going to be there that long, and you take this chance to make this money in this window in the hopes that you'll be one of the superstar players. And it says to me that, like, that's how desperate we are. If we don't have the money to do the other sports that cost the money, like we can't do the soccer.
Yeah, so, man. Look here. I just refreshed the live. Please go to if you refresh, you'll be able to see the new live. Go into that, and we having this discussion. We gonna keep pushing no matter what YouTube does. Caller, thank you so much for calling.
So,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say one other thing to piggyback off of what Yvette just said. The economy of black folks has always been attached to their bodies, and that goes back to boxing. That's why you have a plethora of African Americans that participated in that dangerous sport. When baseball was around, baseball was popular, but that gets phased out when they close down the parks, when Reaganomics happens and things of that nature. And that's a longer, broader discussion, but it's all attached to the continuous oppression of black folks. And we sensationalize the thing that is least attainable, and we keep pushing out, getting pushed back away from the thing that makes the most sense for us to attain. I
thank you, man.
I salute you guys. I want to connect with you on some other levels. I'll send out an email to Yvette or something, but I do some work too, man, and I definitely hold you guys up in very high esteem, very high levels.
Thank you,
Tone,
bro.
one other thing, man, that piece you were doing on representations in media, that's right up my alley, man.
All right, bro.
Important.
Let me keep this running. God, look, man, everybody got a great thing to say. Call in 323-230-4610. Lines are lit. We're having a discussion. We got a new chat going. We were up to about 2,000. Just join that new chat. We're in there having this call. We're looking at Jay-Z in this scandal. We're looking at his career. We're looking at the NFL, and we're asking the question, does any of this make sense? Because for me, for Yvette, for ADOS, for black folks, we in a different space now. The reality is that we're not taking it no more. We're not sending our babies off to play no football because we say that this might help them survive. Let me take the next caller. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Tone, it's Reggie from Boston. What's happening?
Reggie, don't be calling and whispering like that with that smooth voice. Look, Reggie. So I'm just going to clear the floor because I know you got something to say about Jay-Z and everything in this NFL partnership. What's your take?
Here's my take. I was looking at the articles and I saw something very interesting that I think went over a lot of people's heads.
Come on.
Because we're so enamored with black celebrity, like you said. Like the words that they use from the source is that Jay-Z was to have a significant ownership interest. Now, significant can mean whatever you want it to be and however you frame it. There is a big difference between...
Reggie, there's two words that matter when you know, is it majority or is it 100%? We prefer 100%. That's the only two that matter.
Is the difference between significant and then a controlling ownership interest, at least 51%. Now, if it was a controlling interest, I guarantee you the NFL would have said that. This is the same scam all over again.
They ain't pick no team. Like you gotta. So they gonna go in and force somebody to sell. Like they ain't pick no team. Like you can't. It's not even newsworthy yet. They just doing this because they trying to redirect the energy because everybody done jumped down this scandal and try to make it seem like at least black folks is doing something. You ever seen somebody do something wrong and then just throw something over in another direction so you look over there instead so they can run off? That's what we see right here. I think we got to start being real about this thing that they don't have no plan. And if they don't have no plan for you, then what they talking to us about? See, they need your boys to be meat grinded so they can create enough money for them ads and everything else. Anything else you want to say on this thing, Reg? Overall?
Yeah. Another thing, like you said earlier, I totally respect, Kaepernick and his stand. But I feel like when he took the money from Nike and just went away, it cleared the path for Jay-Z to come in and do what he did.
That's interesting.
I feel like he paved the way and he gave cover to where if Cap can take the money and then y'all remember the Nike commercial we discussed this, like some All Lives Matter stuff. So you neutralize Cap takes the money and goes away. It clears the way for Jay-Z to come in and misdirect and say, whatever. And you got it. Like I said, I respect Cap, but when he took that money and we ain't heard from Cap since.
No, I agree. Everybody told me that he settled for $1 billion. a quadrillion dollars. I told them people, y'all know what, you shut up. He anybody that's still working out trying to play football needs some money. I don't care what you say. Well, he's doing it for the love of the game. He's doing it for the love, bro. You don't know nothing about that because you ain't played no football. Look, I'm telling you the truth. Look, the brother didn't get no quadrillion dollars. He didn't get what you think. At the end of the day, he shouldn't have settled. He should have kept pushing and got them documents. You get them documents, all hell break loose. So
and Jay ain't hiring him back either, because I hear people talking about that. Again, Jay does not have a controlling interest. That means that whatever team that he lands in, it's still going to be majority white owned. So it's still going to be what the white folks say goes.
Man,
I don't want to hear anybody else talking about this is a power move or this is good for black folks.
I agree.
It's this whole thing is a mess. And just with the way that people are being just so quickly just moved and shifted and swayed, like you said, we got problems. We still got work to do.
Thanks, Reg. Let's take another call. Caller, what's your... Oh, let me see. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Heidi, calling from Las Vegas.
Heidi.
What's that?
Heidi, what's your take on it?
So first of all, I want to thank you and Yvette for what you do, and I'm glad you guys are exposing Jay-Z, just someone in the entertainment industry for what he's doing, because more of this has to happen. A little bit about me, just so you know where I'm coming from. I'm an emergency medicine physician. I've been doing it for 20 years, actually over 20 years. And so I'm coming at a perspective from a health perspective. And we as African Americans or ADOS have to start going after people who are not in our best interest, who are not supporting us as a people.
Do you mean that because football is about destroying bodies? Let's be specific, because it sounds like
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, what were you going to say? Go ahead.
I'm saying this because I think that a lot of young black boys running around here with concussions and schizophrenia.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that too. That's an issue too, because there has to be, first of all, as a people, we have to have more outlets, more things for us to go into. We're not all supposed to be entertainers and to go into sports. There's more for us.
Really, I don't know if any of us are. Let me go further. I think that we're supposed to be. I made this argument on Twitter. I said that we're about 8%, like ADOS is a strong 8-9% of America, but because we built America and our bones are the very foundation of the country, we should own about 25% of the wealth. And when you that group, you don't have to do no entertaining. You just own the stuff and you laugh and giggle while other people break their bones. So I just think that what's happened is we've been kept at the bottom, so we don't even understand what up is. What you think?
Right. Well, we don't understand, but that's the whole point, is that people have to detach themselves from supporting people who don't have their interest at heart. There's a lot of people who have issues with trying to talk bad about the entertainment industry or about Jay-Z or any of the entertainers. And we have to pull ourselves away and start doing things that are in our best interest, that are direct us in a healthy direction that is better for our well-being. So I agree with you on that. I'm just saying that there's more for us, and that we are much better people. We're much more powerful people. And I think we have to start looking at ourselves so we can appreciate that and become the people we're supposed to be in this country.
Man, that's powerful. Thank you so much for calling. Vet, let me tell you something. Just making sure everybody understands what we're talking right now. Our bodies were never meant to collide with each other. So the physical force of it all, a lot of these men are basically, they say that they have the body of a 65-year-old and they be like 33 by the time they finish the game. But let's go further. What they found, this is part of the CTE scandal, is that we were never meant to crash into each other. Our brains sit in a liquid sack. If you put a container or a helmet over a skull, it doesn't change that fact. It still sits in a liquid sack inside of your head. The woodpecker is a great contrast to us because the woodpecker has evolved to deal with the brunt impact of hitting a tree multiple times. So when you see a woodpecker hit a tree, The tongue of the woodpecker goes back, wraps around the brain as a shock absorber each time it hits the tree. We don't have any evolution to allow us to play football. Fundamentally, no helmet that they make can actually fix this. What I see right now is that black people don't understand that Jay-Z done sold us Uber, Jay-Z done sold us gentrification, crack inside of music, and now he's selling us brain damage in the NFL. Vet, what you think about this? I'll leave it at that.
Well, I think you're right, but I think that's a powerful point in terms of the things that he sold. And I want to say this. In terms of, we have to make an honest assessment of why he's in that room. He's not in that room because of anything that he has done or accomplished. He's in that room because he's using us as currency.
Come on.
Justice is another word for black people in America. These black people. So my currency when I walk in that room is black people. But y'all make it to where when he gets to be in that room, he can do stuff for himself like he's a businessman. No. We your currency. See, we should not let him walk in that room using us as currency when he's going to come out of it as an individual with his own money. And the second thing I say is this: if we don't start having some kind of assessment in terms of who goes to sit in that room, then that's why Tony and Yvette and every other activist or academic in this country who's trying to do something really good for black people and ADOS people will never get to sit in that room. And Jay-Z will always be in that room. And he'll be that room. Him being in that room shuts us out of that room.
And I don't want to hear nothing about no documentary or no TV show. He made the little documentary about prison. He done made a TV show showing what blacks go through. Look, stop right now. Look, Obama and Jay-Z gave us Uber. Uber is one of the most exploitive tools against labor in 100 years. I don't understand how making any TV show about black slavery or prison reform does anything. Look, you do a documentary about prison reform and then you invest in anklets for probationers. None of that makes any sense if y'all gonna give him credit for that. I'm saying to you today that one of the problems is that black folks gotta understand what ADOS folks is talking about. We not just talking about lineage, we talking about a true self-interest that goes beyond your individual self-interest and looks at the group and the community. We talking about the reality that Jay-Z's NFL partnership don't make no sense. I just wanted to have a discussion today because everybody else talking about Cap, and I ain't talking about Cap. I'm talking about you, your family, your community, your country, your politics, your reparations. All these celebrities ain't said nothing about reparations because they got their money. Jay-Z getting his reparations from the NFL. That's his reparations. So he said, I don't care about yours. See, when there was a discussion with Charlamagne in the room and he said, what next? If Tone was in the room, he'd have walked out of there hurt. His feelings would have been hurt. Because what's next is that you write a brief in support of this Comcast lawsuit. That deals with slave laws. What's next is that you come out and say that you're for reparations for black folks, for ADOS folks. What's next is that you say that we deserve a black agenda. I don't care who's president. I don't care if a green man is president, an orange man, or a black man. What's next is that you apologize to us for giving us Obama and supporting him the way you did. Because you owe us an apology. I just wanted to come today because Tone Talks had to bring it. I appreciate y'all tuning in. It can be found Breaking Brown Mondays and Wednesdays, 6 o'clock Pacific time, 9 o'clock Eastern. And then I can be found on Tone Talks here at 7 o'clock. And if she runs a little late, she'll be there. She'll be there. You just check in on YouTube.
I'll be there eventually.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Please look for this tomorrow. We're going to share this. We're going to have a discussion. We fired up. Thank you.